But today we're diving into something that sits right at this weird intersection of language learning and emotional intelligence.
Right.
We're analyzing this unique English learning curriculum, and its entire focus is on self-love and emotional growth.
It immediately grabs your attention, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at language resources, you expect materials for like picking a flight or maybe negotiating a contract.
Sure, talking about the weather.
Yeah, exactly. But this one, it dedicates its whole framework to your internal dialogue.
Right. And it just forces the question, why is an English fluency tool so intensely focused on the idea of self-worth? The sources are really explicit about it. Their core theme is helping learners understand how to learn to love yourself more than anyone else. So you have to ask, what does that actually sound like in simple English?
And that is the crucial connection we're trying to map out for you today. Our mission really is to extract the functional language blueprint from this course. Okay. So forget the drills, the repetition for a minute. We're trying to give you the shortcut. The exact vocabulary, the sentence structures this resource provides that lets a learner, even a beginner, start to articulate their feelings.
So they can set boundaries, express needs.
Exactly. And do it confidently in English.
It's like an emotional toolkit disguised as a grammar lesson. And that framework, being built around self-respect, self-care, emotional strength, it suggests they see language not just as a tool for talking to others.
No, not at all.
It's an engine for internal change.
That's it. And if you connect this to the bigger picture of why this resource even exists, the value isn't just about passing a language exam. It's built for self-empowerment.
Okay, that makes sense.
The idea is that the language you use inside your own head, your self-talk, that should be practiced just as rigorously as any conversation you'd have with someone else.
And I guess if you're learning a new language anyway,
why not make your first new internal dialogue a supportive one?
that's a great point. And it brings us directly into our first section here, the blended goal of the source material. This curriculum seems to have these two inseparable objectives running side by side. One is obviously the practical goal of English practice, improving vocabulary, grammar, all that.
Sure, the nuts and bolts.
But the second is this emotional objective, connecting with your inner thoughts and feelings. It's designed to help learners improve their English and their ability to advocate for themselves.
And this dual approach is actually a really smart teaching method.
Yeah.
It addresses a common failing in a lot of traditional language instruction, which, it often teaches you these emotionally neutral or overly polite phrases.
Right. Very sterile.
Very. But the scenarios here are focused entirely on emotional awareness. They aren't practicing how to talk about quarterly earnings. They are practicing vulnerability and self-respect.
And the sources detail the format, which I think is key to its gentleness. It's often structured as this reflective conversation. Sometimes it's almost a monologue between two really supportive speakers.
It's designed to feel safe.
It is.
And that safety is so intentional. By framing it as a reflective conversation, it just takes all the pressure off. The learner is encouraged to, reflect internally, maybe repeat phrases quietly.
Right.
And practice expressing these big concepts like self-respect in English without that fear of being judged right away.
So the language itself is supportive.
It's supportive, it's non-judgmental, which makes it so much easier to absorb the content without all that anxiety that usually comes with learning a new language.
So we see the philosophy, but how did they actually translate that gentleness into the teaching? Let's get into the intentional design of the language itself. That's our section 2. Accessibility and intentional language design.
Okay.
They made a very deliberate choice to use language that is calm, slow, friendly, and simple.
That clarity is just paramount, especially for the target audience, which is beginner to intermediate learners.
Right.
When you're introducing sensitive material like self-worth or boundaries, you absolutely cannot overwhelm the learner with complex words or grammar. The simplicity means the message is crystal clear.
And immediately repeatable.
Exactly.
But the simplicity isn't lazy. It feels very focused.
Let's dig into the specific linguistic elements the resource emphasizes, because they are using grammar very, very strategically here.
They really are. They focus tightly on 3 main tools. First, you have your foundational emotional vocabulary, words for feelings.
Okay.
Second, and this is the really fascinating part, they just hammer home the simple present tense.
The simple present.
Over and over for expressing beliefs and habits. And third, they prioritize affirmative statements and gentle self-talk.
Okay, let's spend a minute on that simple present tense choice. For anyone listening who might not be a linguist, The simple present is that really basic form of the verb, right? Like, I feel, you walk, she believes.
That's the one. So why is that specific tense so important when you're talking about something like self-worth?
Well, it has this incredible psychological authority. When you use the simple present tense, you're essentially stating a fact.
Huh.
Just compare, for example, I have been feeling stressed lately, which implies it's a temporary condition, with a simple statement like, I need rest.
Oh, that's much more direct.
It is. The simple present strips away all the conditional language. So when a learner states, I deserve happiness, they're stating it as an undeniable belief, a permanent truth, not just a temporary hope.
That makes perfect sense. It immediately establishes a kind of internal boundary and authority.
Yes.
It gives the learner a strong, clear footing, which is exactly what you need when you're learning to advocate for yourself. It's self-talk as a factual declaration.
And that links directly to the third tool, affirmative statements. This resource avoids complicated self-analysis.
It keeps it simple.
It keeps it simple. The focus is on clear, positive, direct affirmations. The entire practice is built on slow repetition, which reinforces both the grammar and the positive message at the same time. You're basically embedding a new, kinder self-talk habit right into the language practice itself.
Now, I have to inject the point of friction here because we've promised a dynamic discussion. It sounds wonderful, but is there a risk that by focusing only on simple English and the simple present tense, the learner misses out on the nuance you need for sophisticated emotional expression?
That's a fair question.
I mean, emotions are often really complex and conditional.
It's a great question, and it does raise the issue of the limitations of simplicity. But what the sources seem to suggest is that for the beginner, any articulation is better than none.
So just getting the words out is the first step.
Exactly. The complexity of emotional expression often hides behind advanced vocabulary or complicated grammar. This curriculum prioritizes the ability to state your core needs
Right.
quickly and clearly. You don't need to describe the subtle difference between ennui and melancholy to just say, I feel sad and I need space. The simplicity is a feature, not a bug. It ensures the learner can set that boundary now.
So the goal is functional self-care first, linguistic sophistication second. It's all about empowering the listener to speak kindly to yourself and in English. And I guess the simplest language allows that core value to shine through without any distraction.
Precisely. The language choice itself embodies the value of self-care. Be gentle with yourself, be clear, and be direct.
Okay, so this is where it gets really practical for you, the listener. We've established the philosophy, now let's extract the tools. If this deep dive is your shortcut, then Section 3 is your learner's toolkit.
I like that.
We're diving into the actionable, ready-to-use phrases from the source material, the essential structures for expressing your emotions, your needs, and your boundaries with confidence.
And these are the direct sentence structures, the foundational building blocks. They're powerful because they're so easy to use immediately, even if you're nervous about your fluency.
Okay, so let's start with the immediate tools for internal experience and self-value. What are the two core starting points this resource teaches?
So the most basic internal statement is just, I feel, followed by the emotion. And the foundational statement of value is, I deserve.
I feel and I deserve.
That's it. That structure immediately shifts the focus to your internal experience and your personal value. Think about how you can use it. I feel overwhelmed. I deserve rest.
It's so direct and unchallengeable, really. And it uses that simple present tense we just talked about.
Exactly.
And then there's a particularly beautiful structure they teach for acknowledging vulnerability while also committing to growth, which is, I am learning to.
Yes.
It acknowledges imperfection, but it commits to progress. Why is that structure so psychologically crucial in a self-love curriculum?
Because self-respect doesn't mean you're already perfect or that you're fixed. The phrase, I am learning to, uses the present continuous tense, which emphasizes that this is an ongoing action. It reframes mistakes or setbacks, not as failures, but as part of an active process. For example, I am learning to say no.
That feels so much more forgiving.
It removes the rigidity of that inner critic. You haven't mastered it yet, but you're actively doing the work. It allows for profound self-compassion.
That's a huge shift, and paired with that acceptance of process, the resource gives the permission structure. It's okay to.
Yeah, that phrase grants such essential permission. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to change your mind. It tackles the guilt and the self-judgment head on, and it delivers that affirmation through a very, very simple English structure.
Okay, so moving into the most practical elements of self-care and boundaries, the sources give us two extremely clear, essential sentences that move from internal thought to external action.
Right. The first one is the practical statement of priority. I need to take care of myself.
I need to.
It uses that modal verb need to emphasize obligation, but the obligation is directed inward toward yourself. It removes any room for negotiation. It's a statement of necessity.
And the absolute most important phrase this curriculum provides for setting healthy boundaries in clear, natural English, the one that I think really defines the entire course philosophy.
Oh, yeah. That is the one sentence that communicates such profound self-respect. I don't have to please everyone.
That phrase is just a massive takeaway for anyone, regardless of their language level. It is the core of boundary setting.
It really is.
And what strikes me about it is that while the concept is so complex, managing social expectations, emotional labor, the linguistic structure is dead simple. Subject, negative auxiliary verb, infinitive verb.
That's the beauty of this whole synthesis. These simple sentence structures, I feel, I deserve, I don't have to, they allow the learner to articulate deep needs and boundaries, even at the beginner stage.
They're not waiting for advanced fluency to start protecting their peace.
Not at all. By using these clear, repetitive grammar patterns, the curriculum prevents that cognitive and emotional overload while still enabling meaningful self-expression.
So it provides immediate functional language for dignity.
That's a great way to put it.
You don't need a huge vocabulary to communicate self-respect. You just need a handful of strong, clear structures that you can use, under pressure.
And if you look at the total output of this resource, the learner walks away with so much more than just language points. They walk away with immediate, actionable scripts for emotional maintenance.
So what does this all mean when we zoom out? We started with a source that looked like a basic English learning tool, and we ended up with a blueprint for emotional clarity and self-advocacy. The core insight here is just the power of combining fluency, even simple fluency, with emotional intentionality. Simple English, when it's structured correctly, can carry the entire weight of meaningful, supportive self-talk.
Absolutely. The value proposition for you, the listener, is seeing exactly how these core emotional concepts, self-respect, self-care, boundaries, are translated into clear, actionable language that you can use right away.
You didn't have to study the whole textbook.
No, we extracted the knowledge that was embedded in the structures themselves.
That is the deep dive completed, and hopefully you now have a toolkit that's ready to deploy. But before we finish, let's leave you with one final thought to consider, building on what we discussed earlier about the simple present tense.
Okay.
We noted that the resource emphasizes the simple present because it expresses beliefs and habits. It's a declaration of fact.
Right.
So, what simple phrase, based on that declarative structure of I deserve, are you ready to use today to define a new, non-negotiable habit of self-respect? Think about that single phrase and how you can speak it into existence.